Hello friends, and welcome back to day 4 of the 7-day project challenge. So today's project is actually going to be one of my very favorites from when I started learning to use my Cricut. And it's going to be using infusible ink sheets on a t-shirt. Now, I do have the Cricut brand t-shirt. I got a bunch when they were on sale. You do not have to use the Cricut brand shirt as long as you use a shirt that has a high enough polyester count. My rule is that I don't use shirts with a polyester count of anything less than 50%. I use 50-50 shirts all the time and they look great. So if you want to see how to use the infusible ink sheets on a t-shirt, keep watching. Alright, so here's the image I decided to go with, and I wanted a black outline on top of the infusible ink. So I did duplicate my little elephant so that I could take that back layer, go into contours, and hide all my contours to make it a solid filled shape. That is the one that I will be cutting the infusible ink with. So once I changed the color so you could kind of see what I was working with, I hit make it. First thing I do when I hit make it was go through and mirror both designs so I didn't forget later. I did cut the black out of HTV, so I used the everyday iron-on cut setting, but for the blue, I just used the infusible ink transfer sheet cut setting for that. Alright, so for the back shadow of my little elephant, I'm going to be using one of these infusible ink pattern sheets. Now, the cool thing about the infusible ink is it is very similar to sublimation. So you still want to mirror your design, but you actually, unlike HTV, you actually want the color side of this to be facing up. So let's go with this one. I like that one. And place it face up on my Cricut mat. Now, they do recommend that you do not touch this with your fingers like as much as possible so you don't get like spots. I've never had any issues with it, but I just barely rub it down to get it to stick. Okay, so now once I peel this off the mat, there's a small difference too with weeding infusible ink compared to like HTV. They do not recommend using a weeding tool. Something about the ink could transfer to your other designs. So basically what I'm going to do is trim this down so I can use what's left for another project. Okay, so now I have it off the mat. What you are actually going to do to weed the infusible is you just kind of take it and fold it where your cut lines are and you'll hear it crack. Okay, so now that I've got it kind of cracked, what I'm going to do is pick a corner. And you can see my design right here. What I'm going to try to do is peel off the excess. So then you just go through with your fingers and just peel it off of this backing. Just be careful if you have like small intricate cuts so that you've actually like not peeled off part of your design. And there's my little elephant. So now I have my elephant and then I have my HTV outline. I did not have enough of the black infusible ink to do the outline in infusible, but if you do, you can totally use that instead of HTV. So now I'm going to warm my heat press up to 400 degrees. Alright, so my heat press is around 400 degrees, so I'm going to prep my shirt. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of lay it down on my little press thing here. Then I'm going to take a lint roller and just roll over it to make sure there's no lint, there's no hair, nothing like that on the shirt so that I do get a good transfer. I am also going to put a piece of butcher paper in between my shirt so that it's in the middle of my shirt just in case I get any bleed from the infusible ink. And now I'm just going to give it a quick 5-second-ish heat, like warm up press kind of thing, to draw out any moisture in the fabric so that it is ready for the ink. All right, so now we're ready for the infusible ink. So I'm actually going to use my little handy shirt ruler I made. I do have a full tutorial on that if you would like to make your own. And I'm just going to take this and put it color side against the t-shirt. Right there. The backing or the carrier sheet for the infusible ink is pretty sticky, but I do still like to tape it down, and I use the Scotch Blue painter's tape, especially for bigger designs like this. I do have heat tape, but for the bigger designs, I like to be able to tape it like all the way across, and I just use a ton of heat tape if I use the heat tape for that. So, painter's tape. And I've never had this brand leave a sticky residue, so bonus. And it's a lot cheaper than heat tape too. All right, so now that is all taped down. So I'm going to take another piece of butcher paper to put on top, just in case there's any bleed from coming up. And I like to use a Teflon sheet. You do not have to. That's just a personal preference. And I'm actually going to press this. My heat press is at 397. It will get back up to 400 degrees. I'm gonna press it for about 45 seconds. All right, so now, let's see here. Yep, it looks like my colors are coming through. So I'm going to go ahead and peel this off. You do not have to wait for it to cool down. You can just peel it right off. The tape will be hot though, so careful not to burn yourself. That looks wonderful. The colors are super bright. So now I'm going to put my outline on top. So I found what's easiest for me is if I start on the left side and kind of line it up on the left side and work my way over to the right. So I just kind of like hold down this left side and just kind of twist and move it around until I get it lined up where I want it to be. Okay, that's where I want it to go. So now I'm going to use my painter's tape again and tape the black outline down as well. So now I'm just going to cover that just in case. And I'm only going to press the HTV down. I think this brand, it's called HTV RONT. So HTV RONT. It says that it only needs to be pressed for 30 seconds at 300 degrees, but I have mine at 388. So I'm only gonna press it for about 25-ish seconds, just so it will stick and be an outline. Okay. Now, depending on your type of HTV, you might have to wait till it cools down. Mine is warm peel, so I'm gonna go ahead and peel this off. That stuck great. And you may notice on your HTV carrier sheet that some of the infusible ink will it will transfer onto the carrier sheet. That's normal. I've had that happen every single time I've done this. You can see it came through just a little bit. Not too bad. And there it is. Check out that elephant. It looks fabulous. Now, this is just one of my very favorite methods. Like I said, you can use the infusible ink for the outline as well. I just didn't have it, but I hope this helps. And that wraps up project 4 of day 4 of the 7-day project challenge. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any other ideas for the other 3 days, please let me know.